Hey, what's good late night? Hey, glad y'all made it out even with St. Patty's Day tonight. Hopefully you're wearing your green, but respect y'all for coming even with the holiday. But you're in for a treat tonight because we get to hear from one of the main session speakers from SMC this past year, Todd Aaron. Todd, he's one of the best communicators I know. He's engaging, he's funny, but tonight he's actually talking about this idea that God is big and personal, bigger than we could ever imagine and more personal than we could ever know. And we're actually gonna hear a message from when he gave one down at University of Texas just about a year ago. So hope you're locked in and ready to go because it's gonna be an amazing message tonight. And you know the drill, discussion questions at the end of the video. So go ahead and pause it on those discussion questions and talk about it with the people around you. And next week, we'll be back in person in the gym, Grace Church, 7:30. We'll see you then.
January 17th, 1990, the largest earthquake in over 100 years hit California. The epicenter was literally in Los Angeles. All power went out. People streamed outside to safety, and they looked up. And for the first time, these people in Los Angeles saw something that they'd never seen before. Actually, 911 was flooded with calls, not for first responders, but because what they saw in the sky. They said, there's something up there. It's gray, it's silver, it's a cloud, and what they had seen for the first time was the Milky Way. They'd never seen it before. And as I think about that story, I'm like, wow, it's there the whole time, but the world is trying to drown it out. The Milky Way was there the entire time, but the distractions of lights and busyness and schedule, they just never looked up. In the same way, we don't look up. What I want to do tonight is I just want to look up. I want to look up, and I want to see who God is. I want to see who God is. I want to look up. We've been going through a series, Things I Wish I Knew in College. And for me, in college, I thought God was small and impersonal. I thought he's not interested in my life. He's not interested in me. He's not going to course correct me. He doesn't care for me. And what I didn't realize was instead of him being small and impersonal, he's actually great and very personal. Now, I don't feel small. I don't. I have a big house. I have a big family. I have a big car. I have a big watch. My kids think I'm a big deal. I tell them I'm a big deal, and they believe me. And so what happens when I start to feel like a big deal, when I start to feel like I'm somebody, all you have to do is look up. The stars in the sky are there to show us actually how small we are. That's what the Bible says about Psalms. Listen to this Psalm, Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God. The heavens declare, they're shouting the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display his knowledge. If you look up, you can see our smallness. When I look up and I see the creation, it drives me to the Creator. In light of how incredible the creation is, it should drive us to want to know the Creator. Do you realize humans walk at 3 miles an hour? We run or jog at 20 miles an hour. Lance Armstrong can bike at 40 miles an hour on drugs. I know, that's too soon. Light travels at 700 million miles an hour. I can't even comprehend that. Light travels at 700 million. That means every time I snap, it travels 186,000 miles a second. Every time I snap, it can circle the earth 7 times. That's how fast light travels. Now, measuring things in miles is okay. If you're going to drive from Austin to Seattle, you can use miles. However, when you look up, you can't use miles. It's simply too big. So we have to use something called light years. Now, I know we all slept in science class, and I did too. Light years doesn't measure time, it measures distance. When you look up and try to measure, if we know light travels at 186,000 miles a second, we can start to measure the distance of things. So, we live on Earth. Did you guys, no one wrote that down. I'm so disappointed. We live on Earth. And our Earth, our sun, our other planets are inside the solar system. The solar system sits inside a galaxy. There are 400 billion galaxies. 400 billion galaxies. The stars in our galaxy, there's 300 billion stars just in our galaxy. I'm going to keep repeating myself. 300 billion. There's more stars than there is sand on all the beaches in all the world. There's more stars than there is sand on all the beaches in all the world. Yet listen to what God says about making the stars. You ready for this? Here it is. Here it is. Genesis 1:16. Here it is. Here it is. Are you ready? I don't think you are. Here it is. Here it is. I mean, if I made the stars, I would make it a big deal. This is what God says about making. Are you ready? Here it is. Genesis 1:16. I'm going to read it for you. Here it is. He made the stars also. That's like going to In-N-Out Burger and being like, I'll take a burger fry, shake. I mean, it's just like, it's just an extra. He made the stars also. Look at this picture. This is a picture of us in accordance with the sun, okay? This is a picture of us. Now, this is not how close we are to the sun. That would be bad. I know Summer in Austin, you're like, so that's why. Wow. We put this picture together because we want to show you how small Earth is. 1 million Earths can fit inside the sun. 1 million Earths. But now watch this. You ready? Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Even our sun is small. Our sun is small. Do you realize there's a star called Antares? There's a star called Antares, and it's 26 times larger than the sun. 17,000 suns can sit inside Antares, but Antares is small. Antares is small. There's a star called Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse is 1 million times larger than the sun, and 1 billion suns can fit inside a Betelgeuse. 1 billion suns can fit. You start to go, oh my goodness. If the creation looks like this, how much more the Creator? And you see Betelgeuse coming on the screen there now, and guess what? After Betelgeuse, they just have numbers. They don't even, like, this is TR100. And then C3PO. They just have numbers. They don't even know. They're like, oh my goodness, Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God. The heavens is pouring forth speech. Look at who I am. I thought God was small and impersonal. I had no idea God was great and very personal. That he wanted to engage me, help me, correct me, have a plan for me. Isaiah says this. This is phenomenal. Isaiah 40 says this. He sits enthroned above. He stretches out the heavens like a canopy. He spreads them out like a tent. You go camping. You find a spot that's flat. You get your cooler full of pop, okay? And you get your tent, and you get your tent, and you just, Carl, look out, I'm flicking my tent. This is what God does with the universe. He stretches, just, did I tell you he made the stars also? Did I tell you that? It's just an afterthought. He sits enthroned above, he stretches out the heavens he spreads them out like a tent. In the 1990s, we sent an unmanned spacecraft out to the universe, the farthest we could ever send one. It was 4 billion miles away from the Earth. 4 billion. Astronomers turned the spacecraft around to take a picture. It happened to grab a picture of the Earth at 4 billion miles away. Scientists called it the pale blue dot. Because this is what it looks like. I know you're like, wait, I don't even know what I'm looking at. It looks like your friend took a bad picture at a UT game. I know that. But this is called, the circle is that little dot inside the circle. Not the circle, I've circled it to show you the dot inside the circle. This is you at 4 billion miles away. Now, Carl Sagan, who's an astronomer, was the first to see the picture. They bring the picture into his office and Sagan, look, 4 billion miles, this is humanity. He's looking at the picture, and here's what he says. If you look at it, you see a dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you know, everyone you love, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was lived out their lives. All our joys and sufferings, ideologies and doctrines, every hero, every coward, creator, destroyer of civilizations, every peasant, every young couple in love, every hopeful child, every mother, every supreme leader, every saint, every sinner in history lived there on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. Here we are. God is the God of the big. He wants to engage us. How does the Bible describe you and I? James 4:14. It's actually not too nice. James 4:14. What is your life? You're a mist. You appear for a little while, and then you vanish. What is your life? We're suspended on a sunbeam. What is your life? You're a mist. You appear, that's a good thing. For a little while, not a good thing. And then you vanish, not a good thing. A friend of mine was like, hey, do you know the definition of mist or fog? I'm like, who cares? He's like, do you know the definition of fog? I'm like, I don't know. Here in the morning, gone in the afternoon. He's like, no, definition of fog. Here in the morning, gone in the morning. You don't even make it to noon. But the mist can know the maker. I had no idea in college that I could know this God of the big, God of the small, but a very personal God. He's the God of the big. I hope I've shown you that you're suspended on a sun, but also he's the God of the small. Think about a cell, not your phone. Think about a cell. It's what we're made up of. Tens of thousands of cells can fit on the end of a pen. Tens of thousands. Inside every cell is our DNA that codes us together. The same God who set us on a sunbeam is the same God who coded in our DNA. He's the God of the big, he's the God of the small. Psalm 8, when I look to the heavens, O Lord, the work of your fingers, I see the heavens, I'm in awe. Oh my goodness, I'm suspended on a sunbeam. When I look at the heavens, the moon and the stars, who am I? Like, why would you even care for me? A student looking for purpose and joy at UT, trying to figure it out on my own, changing my major several times, burning through relationships, trying to find validity in who I am by what others think, by my social media. But yet God says, I think of you. I think of you. Who am I, O Lord, that you would think of me? He's God of the big. He's the God of the small. He's a personal God. How do I know listen, think about the eyebrow, okay? The eyebrow. I'm blown away by the eyebrow. The eyebrow is the only hair on your body that's upward. It's the only hair on your body that points upward. Why would the Creator code in our DNA to put eyebrow hair upward? Why? Do you know why? So that when you're doing CrossFit, you don't get sweat in your eye. If any of us made the eyebrow, we'd be like, just put it in the center. Who cares? You know, like just... God bless the unibrow. I mean, why? That's amazing. Think about the Creator. He codes in our DNA to put our eyebrow above our eye. The Creator God cares that you don't get sweat. And this is crazy. The same God who created the universe, the stars, the skies, that suspended me on a sunbeam, puts an eyebrow right here to say, I care for you. What about our ear? What about our ear? What about our ear? Why two? We don't have two noses. That'd be kind of cool. We have two ears. Why two ears? Do you realize if you had the one ear enables you to hear the sound. The second ear allows you to locate it. If you didn't have a second ear, you couldn't figure out if the sound was in front, behind, above, or below. Who cares that humanity can locate sound? God does. God does. He cares for you. He wants to know you. I thought God was small and impersonal, just didn't want to interrupt my life. I find validity in what people think about me, not what he thinks about me. If you read Genesis chapter 1, it's very clear how God creates. He speaks to create. Genesis chapter 1, 10 times it says God spoke. God spoke. Here's a few. Genesis 1, God spoke and the heavens and earth came forth. God spoke and there was light. God spoke and there was vegetation. God spoke and the animals were created. But when he makes humanity, no. Genesis 2, listen to the way God made you and he made me. The Lord God formed man. He breathed the breath of life so that he would become a living being. He sculpted us exactly the way he wanted. And then he does something so personal. Look at this. It doesn't say this about the stars. It doesn't say this about the sky, the angels. It doesn't say this. He breathed. We're the only people he's breathed into. That is such a personal thing. The breath of God coming into our lungs. When God gives us his name, when God tells us his name in the Old Testament, he uses the word Yahweh. Yahweh. Now, Jews, they see this word and they call this word the breath word. Jews call this word the breath word because they say it sounds like when you're breathing. Yahweh sounds like the very word you're saying when you breathe. Jews call Yahweh, the God's name, they call the breath letters. It sounds like when you breathe. So when your friend in the union is talking about how they don't believe in God and how God's not interested in them and no thanks about God, and they pause for a second and take a breath, they're actually saying the name of God. God is the God of the big. He's the God of the small, but he's also a very personal God. He wants to know us. He wants us to know him and glorify him. Colossians 1:16 says this, all things are created by him and for him. All things are created by him and for him. That means if you're trying to find your life purpose in anything other than the God of the big, the God of the small, and the God of the personal, you're not going to find it. You were created for him and by him. Not for your friends or for your boyfriend or girlfriend or your parents to do what you were created by God to know him and to glorify him. What do you mean to know him and glorify him? That's what he wants us to do. All things are created for him and by him, to know him and glorify. Would you say you came here tonight as someone who knows God? I don't know why you came tonight, but would you say you know God? I know God. I know what grieves him. I know what he enjoys. I know what he likes. I know what brings him worship and praise. Do you know God? Do you glorify God? Does your life revolve around making him famous, not your resume? Does your life revolve around, I want to show God off? Or is it, I want to show off? Do you know him and are you glorifying him? On the Apple website, when you click on the iPhone, it has a warning label, don't eat. And my kids noticed that. They're like, Dad, why does it say don't eat? And I was like, well, okay. Someone out there saw Apple, the phone, and thought, wow, is this edible? And so you only put a warning label if someone's tried it and sued you. Okay, a hula hoop says don't swallow. This is dumb stuff, right? Why would they have on the hula hoop, don't swallow? Why would they have on the Apple iPhone, do not eat? Because you have to know what purpose it was created for. If you're not living for your intended purpose, you're doing it all wrong. God, if there was a warning label on my life, if there was a warning label on your life, do not live for self. It will not work. It does not satisfy. If there is a warning label on my life, do not live for self. It will not work. It will not satisfy. Yet how many times do I try to live for myself? Gratifying my cravings, burning through relationships, not figuring out my major. I thought in college God was small and impersonal. I was so wrong. I have a friend. He loves God. He wants to know God. He wants to glorify God. He's a college student, and his life is about that. He has purpose. He has passion. He has problems too, but his life is revolving around knowing and glorifying God. I have another friend. In college, he didn't want to know and glorify God. He was living for his own self. He was living for his own pleasures. Guess what? He's just as clueless at 38 as he was at 18. He's not living for his intended purpose. Listen to this promise in Jeremiah. I know the plans I have for you. That is huge. I know the plans I have for you. The God of the big, the God of the small, the God who's personal knows the plans. He's got a plan for your life. He's got a purpose for it. I have plans to prosper you, not to harm you. You're trying to harm yourself. We do a good job trying to harm ourselves, right? Our self-management, our image, our fame junkie attitude. I know the plans I have for you. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Seek me. Seek me. You will find me. The God of the big, who suspended us in a sunbeam, invites us to seek him. Seek me and find me when you seek me with your heart. Think about paparazzi. They spend hours camping out one site, a restaurant in Los Angeles, hoping to get a picture of a famous person that they can sell for $30,000. That's their life. These people who are famous want nothing to do with the paparazzi. They don't want to know them. But guess what? This paparazzi, all they're trying to do is take a picture of people that... Think of how much we seek after knowing famous people. But guess what? They don't even want to know us. The God who creates the universe, who made the stars also, who causes light to travel at 186,000 miles a second. Think about this. He says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you. I invite you as you leave tonight. I invite you as you walk back to your dorm or campus or whatever to look up. Just look up. And just be in awe of the Creator. And know the same God is a personal God who wants to know you. Would you say you know God tonight? Would you say that you're glorifying him? Would you say you're living for his purposes? A friend of mine named Mark built a house. I saw Mark at a coffee shop. He said, I built a house. I said, congratulations, that's a big deal. He said, you should come by and see it. I said, you know what? I probably will, if you're lucky. And so I had extra time one day, driving around doing nothing, because that's what I do. I had extra time one day, I'm driving around doing nothing, and I'm like, I'm gonna pull up Mark's address. I'm gonna go to his house. I'm gonna have coffee with my friend Mark. I pull up to his house. I pull up to Mark's house. I get out of the car. Nothing strikes me about his house that's interesting at that point. Nothing struck me. And I get to his front door. I say hi. He brings me and he gives me a tour of the house. He shows me the vaulted ceilings, the open floor plan, the granite. And then I go to the backyard. And in the backyard, I open up I'm like, wow. Wow. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, that's ridiculous. He's like, why? I was like, you had everywhere in Fayetteville, Arkansas to build a house. And you decide you're going to back up to a gravesite. I mean, literally, his black wrought iron fence, I could put my foot through and hit a tombstone. I was like, Mark, what are you thinking? He's like, we love it. I'm like, you're We sat down on his back porch. I'm like, this is miserable. They're preparing you. They're digging a hole right there. He's like, I know, it's great, isn't it? I'm like, why? He said, Todd, every morning my wife and I come out here, every morning, and we watch him digging a new hole for a grave. Every morning. He said, Todd, do you know how long a funeral takes? We see one every day. Do you know how long a funeral takes? I said, how long? He says, 30 minutes. He said, do you know what we've realized? The number one thing that determines how many people come to your funeral is the weather. He said, this was perfect for my wife and I because every morning we're reminded we're here for a while and then we're gone. Mark understands he's a mist. He understands he's a mist, but he also understands that the mist can know the maker. Do we? Do we? Let me pray.